Okay, so we are looking at area of triangles and parallelograms. So the first thing that you need to have is you need to have your star chart. So that is super important because you need to know the formulas for triangles and parallelograms. If you're doing the rest of the packet, then you need to know it because you're going to have your star chart so that you can measure. If you have a ruler, that works too. I just make sure you use your star charts in class because we are going to only have our star chart on test next Wednesday, March 6th. Sorry about that. It's the Unit 9 test on March 6th. So, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and write down at the top, triangle, parallelogram, which is also a rectangle, can be a parallelogram. So, in order to find triangle, the area is equal to base, little b, times height, and you can say multiply by 1/2, or base times height divided by 2. Because if we multiply by 1/2, it's the same as saying divide by 2. If I say 1/2 of 4, that is 2. If I say 4 divided by 2, that's also 2. Same thing. In order to find the area of a parallelogram, looking here, our formula is area is equal to base times height. All right, I need you to remember that the height is always perpendicular to the base. So in other words, when we're looking here at this triangle, they drew a line outside of the triangle in order to make a line that would be perpendicular to the base if they continued the base outwards. So the height of this triangle would be 14, and the base would also be 14. So if we're going to write this into the equation, we could say the base is 14 multiplied by 14. I'm going to use this line divided by 2. All right, so that's your formula. You need to solve it now. 14 times 14, and then once you find that number, divide it by 2 in order to get your area. Now, no area is complete without the units, so make sure that when you have completely finished, that you have the unit, which in this case is centimeters, and you need to make sure that it's a square unit and not just plain centimeters. We're not measuring the length or the width or the height. We are measuring the area, so it has to be in square centimeters. All right, so it is your job to solve all that out. You just need to make sure that once you solve it, that you keep the unit of centimeters squared. You might need to show some work over in the corner or on the side. Take up as much space as you need. If you get a little confused on where your answer should be, go ahead and circle it. That way you know, and I know where your answer should be. All right, switching over to parallelograms. This one's pretty easy, so I want to make sure that we look at this one over here. Now, I know the height is perpendicular to the base. That means it forms a right angle at the base. Now, right here we see a right angle. So 15.2 is a line forming a perpendicular angle with the base. Now, right here is a diagonal side, so we know that it doesn't matter. It's extra information, it's a distraction. We want to make sure that we're not focused on the distractions, that we're following along with exactly what we know we need to pay attention to. So the base of this would be, it's supposed to be an M, so that means that it's 20, which is the base, multiplied by the height, which is 15.2. And because of parallelogram, the area of a parallelogram is just the base multiplied by the height. That's your formula right there. And again, because we're finding area, once you find the answer to that, you need to make sure that your answer is in meters squared. And that goes for these other two over here. All right. most of my classes, this was all you needed to do, but if you decided to go ahead and do the rest of the packet, or your class was asked to complete the packet in full, I wanted to go ahead and look at number 1 with you because it is a word problem and it can be confusing if we don't read it carefully. So, last spring, Rosalind planted a rectangular garden that measured 4 feet long and 3 feet wide. Rectangular garden, that means that our formula is going to be area is equal to the base multiplied by the height. She wants to enlarge her garden by 1.5 feet on every side. What will be the new area of the garden? So we had a garden that had a base of 4 and a height of 3. We need to make sure that both sides grow by 1.5 feet. So I'm going to have to add 4 plus 1.5 gives me 5.5. And then 3 plus 1.5 means I'm going to multiply by 4.5. So my new formula to find the area of her new garden that has been enlarged by 1.5 feet on each side is 5.5 times 4.5. Okay, remember when you are looking at how to bubble, right here is the ones place, this is the tens place, hundreds, and thousands. So your answers need to make sure that you're bubbling in the correct place. If you get a decimal answer, it needs to be behind the decimal in the tenths or hundredths place. If you get a positive answer, you don't have to bubble, but I would appreciate bubbling. If you get a negative answer, you have to bubble. It will hurt you if you bubble a positive when you need it, if you don't bubble anything when you need a negative answer. Now, both of our numbers here are positive, so there's no way we're going to get a negative. But I am trying to remind you so in the future, when you're working on these, you remember to bubble either positive or negative. Okay, I will read one more, and then you are going to work on this by yourself. So a triangular banner, that means we're working with triangles. So we've got area is equal to base times height divided by 2. Has a base of 20 centimeters and a height that is twice the length of the base. What is the area of the banner? Height twice the length of the base. If the base is 20 and we need twice that, 20 times 2, figure out what that is. 20 times 2. And remember, because it's a triangle, at the end, once you figure out this whole mess, you have to divide the entire thing by 2. Please make sure you're careful about your bubbling. Remember that when you bubble, the machine picks up what you bubble and not what you meant to bubble. Okay. Y'all have got this. Make sure to put your name on this. On the front, you're going to turn it in. It is due this Thursday. Good luck, guys. Ask any questions before you turn it in if you need to.